Hi everyone, let's take a look at the following example. An angle has a cosecant of 1.2. The secant of the same angle is negative. Determine a value for the angle between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. Step 1. Draw a diagram. Write down CA as T. From the given, cosecant of this angle, let's call this angle theta, equals to 1.2. Don't think about 1.2 as 1.2, but instead we write this as 1.2 divided by 1. And the reason why this is important is because when you think about sine theta, cosine theta, tan theta, cosecant theta, secant theta, or cotangent theta, think about this as a ratio, right? So think of a ratio, not just a number. Now, the second part says the secant of the same angle is negative. Now, that is critical. Why is that? Because if you start with the first given, if cosecant theta is positive, this means secant, or not secant, I mean sine theta is also positive. So let's write this down. If we know cosecant is going to be positive, then sine is positive because cosecant theta is 1 divided by sine theta. And if 1 divided by sine theta equals to 1.2 divided by 1, this implies, if you take the reciprocal of both sides, sine theta is going to be 1 divided by 1.2, or sine theta is positive. So at first, you look at this and you say, oh, sine theta is positive. It could be in quadrants 1 and 2. But because of this second given, secant theta is negative. Again, secant theta means 1 divided by cosine, which means if secant theta is negative, cosine theta is negative. So let's write that down. 1 divided by cosine theta must be negative. This implies cosine theta must be negative. Now you combine these two ideas. Which quadrant is true for both the fact that cosine theta is negative and sine theta is positive? And this is going to be in quadrant number 2. So I'm going to go back and erase this first quadrant. Again, I'm going to say this one more time. Cosine theta is negative, and that is true in quadrant number 2. And sine theta is positive, which is also true in quadrant number 2. Now you go back and your goal is to solve for this angle, and let's call this angle theta. That's the principal angle, theta. And if I think about sine theta, that's going to be 1 divided by 1.2. So 1 is the opposite, 1.2 is the hypotenuse. I grab the calculator, make sure you're in degree mode. I take the inverse sine of 1 divided by 1.2. And theta equals to approximately 56.44269024. And again, if I go back to the given, it didn't talk about rounding, so I'm just going to round to the nearest degree. So this is approximately 56 degrees, but that's the related acute angle, beta. So I should go back and correct this. So what you're looking at is actually not the principal angle, that is the related acute angle. So if you go back and you look for this angle theta, theta is going to be 180 degrees minus 56 degrees. So the principal angle equals to 124 degrees. So again, when it says find a value for the angle, it's going to be exactly 140 degrees or 124 degrees. How do we know if we're doing it right? Spend 1 extra minute, double check. And what I mean is this. I grab the calculator and I do 2 things. Number 1, if I take cosine of the answer, what happens? I take the calculator, I press cosine of 124. It's going to be a negative number. So this confirms that this is true. I also go back and I double check by taking sine of 124, which equals to approximately 0.8290 and so on. And if I take 1 divided by 1.2, that is approximately the same decimal. Again, we rounded the answer, so we can expect the exact answer when we double check. And that's how you do this example. If you find this video meaningful, it's adding value to your math life, please consider comment, like, share, and subscribe. I hope this makes sense.